Listen, $650,000. Let's look at that together. Not just as a figure, but as time. Years of a woman's life dragging herself out of bed. Clocking in when you are exhausted. Choosing the grueling responsible path over the easy way out day after day for decades. Until one morning, a bank statement finally spells out the one thing she wanted: safety. Lynette built that sanctuary, and my mind stays stuck on it. I obsess over what it demands. To hit 650 grand. That kind of wealth isn't quick, and it is never accidental. It demands a cold, quiet discipline. The kind of grinding routine no one talks about because it lacks drama. It is just relentless consistency year after year. Her mother Darlene verified that exact figure publicly while speaking to Ashley Banfield on a recent broadcast. Over $650,000 in a retirement fund, strictly under Lynette's name. But here is the psychological hook that immediately caught my attention during the investigation. Her husband Brian had a retirement fund too. He was at a T&T right beside her for years, long enough to build a solid nest egg. Yet, according to a close colleague of Lynette, a confidant she trusted implicitly when the walls closed in, Brian had already drained his account. Every single cent was completely gone, and her coworker didn't mention this lightly. They knew because Lynette confessed it to them through tears. During a period when she separated from him, she sat down and revealed that Brian had scorched through his entire retirement savings. I mean, that is a very dark, highly specific conversation. A woman doesn't admit that unless the dread is suffocating her, unless she has to speak it aloud, because the secret is crushing her alive. We are examining a fatal timeline. Lynette Hooker was 55 years old. Raised in Michigan, she spent absolute decades grinding away. She forged a life that witnesses repeatedly describe as fiercely loyal. She was defined by pure hard work and a stubborn refusal to abandon the people she loved. Even when staying became incredibly dangerous. She stayed at AT&T long enough to stockpile that massive fund, the exact one her mother recalls so sharply. Over 650 grand. But she also crafted an alternate life on the ocean. Sea turtles dying sunlight and baking on the deck of a 45-foot boat they ominously named Soulmate. She and her husband had navigated the waters together for over 10 years, broadcasting their marital illusion online under the moniker the Sailing Hookers. Her mother informed reporters that Lynette was practically raised on boats and lakes. Her daughter confirmed to the press that she was incredibly strong, highly fit, and a powerful swimmer. Lynette's final digital footprint dropped on April 4, 2026. The caption simply read, "Not going anywhere for a while. We are going to dig deeper into the evidence before moving forward." As analysts, we rely on hard documentation. We trace the facts and absolutely refuse to speculate beyond what the verified evidence proves. And right now we are tracking the exact trail. Seasoned detectives follow when a partner vanishes. Stick with me here. The money. I need to pull you back to their office because that is where the psychological cracks first show. Both Lynette and the suspect were employed at AT&T. That is where the relationship started. A crucial fact most news reports just gloss right over. But I refuse to ignore it. It proves that the same co-workers who interacted with Lynette every day also had to deal with Brian. They watched the couple operate individually, and together for years. What those sources eventually leaked to reporters in late April paints a disturbing psychological contrast. I want you to remember, Lynette was deeply, genuinely adored by her peers. Not in a fake, socially mandatory, forced smile kind of way either. Truly loved. The type of woman whose sudden disappearance caused her entire office to naturally gather and mourn her just 3 days later. Not because human resources ordered it, but because they actually cared. The suspect's reputation was drastically darker. He acted as the union steward, a position that demands real responsibility. That title is meant for someone who shields employees from executives, ensuring everyone gets a fair and decent shake. But multiple testimonies describe a man who weaponized that exact title for his own motives. The profile that emerged was of a predator. His main goal was never about protecting the staff he claimed to represent. It was about creating chaos for management, turning things hostile even if his aggression actively hurt the very victims he was sworn to defend. Manipulative. That was the profile we got. But then there is this one specific detail, a psychological red flag that you and I need to look at together. Let me be direct. In a room full of colleagues, Brian called his wife Lynette the kid. Not her actual name. Not my wife. The kid. She was only 3 years younger. Maybe it was just affection. Maybe the delivery was just off. I cannot profile his exact thoughts in that moment. But what I can state clearly is that this behavior is public record reported by Ashley Banfield. I will let you analyze what that implies. Now let us examine the finances. I need to be exact about our sources because in forensic accounting, precision is the entire case. Darlene Hamlet, Lynette's mother, publicly confirmed to Ashley Banfield that Lynette's 401k held over $650,000. Primary evidence. A mother verifying an exact figure on the record. In a financial investigation that is as solid as physical bank statements, the data regarding Brian's account stems from a single source, an associate close to Lynette, at AT&T. One solitary witness. I am stating this because evidentiary standards matter. A single claim is not verified fact. I will not overstate its weight. It is one individual who sat in on a highly private conversation, a witness who was in the room when Lynette broke down crying. Through her tears, she claimed Brian had drained his entire 401k. Listen. Let us pause and evaluate. As an analyst, it is tempting to see this financial chasm as the sole trigger. To draw a clean, straight line right from missing money directly to a motive and straight to a lethal conclusion. I am not jumping there. This alone proves absolutely nothing. I am saying it is a logged piece of evidence in an active missing persons file. And seasoned detectives, the experts who profile suspects for a living, who study homicide cases, like this never ignore the money. They analyze bank records clinically avoiding assumptions, but never turning a blind eye. Ashley Banfield stated it perfectly on April 27th. I always follow the money, not as the final answer, but as a critical piece of the profile. So you and I will keep tracking it. A 401k legally belongs only to the listed account holder. But 401k accounts carry what is called a beneficiary designation. This dictates exactly who inherits the funds upon the owner's death. In a typical marriage, spouses list each other. It is the absolute default. Financial planners push for it. Couples sign the paperwork years prior and forget it. Right now, the specific beneficiary on Lynette Hooker's account remains sealed from the public view. What we do know for certain is that the fund is real. It holds over $650,000. And if Lynette is legally declared deceased, those assets transfer directly to someone dictated by an old document that the Financial Crimes Unit absolutely has the legal power to subpoena. Whether the detectives have already pulled those records has not been leaked to us. What is confirmed is the massive financial discrepancy. $650,000 in hers, zero in his. 4 years adrift on a boat. No real estate. No steady paycheck. No safety net. 2 adults isolated on the soulmate. One guarding a secure future, built over decades. The other with absolutely zero left to fall back on. Brian Hooker has not been indicted for any offense. His defense attorney, Terrell Butler, stated that Brian categorically and unequivocally denies all allegations. His attorney out of Michigan, Crystal Marie Hauer, told ABC News that he never would have hurt his wife of 25 years. Brian himself declared publicly he never harmed Lynette and never would. Yet he remains a prime suspect. He is not cleared, and rearrest remains an option. The Royal Bahamas Police Force Commissioner confirmed this to NBC News. Now, what do you and I make of this? The money is not isolated. It is one variable in a massive behavioral profile that has been compiling for 30 days. We must evaluate that entire case file piece by piece, because in forensics context is everything. In his official statement, Brian claims Lynette fell from an 8-foot dinghy into the dark waters near Elbow Cay, raging currents. He lost her. He drifted. But multiple independent witnesses stationed on Elbow Cay, a group of 3 viewing the exact same anomaly, reported a distress flare around 8 p.m., and that flare did not originate from a drifting dinghy. It came from the 45-foot ketch that Brian officially swore they had already abandoned. Let's examine what he returned to. Ground reports from journalist Ashley Banfield locked in a crucial detail. A private security camera perched on Lubber's quarters, pointing east across the Sea of Abaco, rolled constantly. The camera belonged to a local named Dean Zamzil. He simply wanted to check his remote view, but instead caught anomalous light flashes near the soulmate's estimated position. 7:47 p.m. April 4th. Then 12:27 a.m. on April 5th. And again at 12:32 a.m. Here is the glaring problem. At all three timestamps, Brian claimed to be somewhere else entirely. Nobody was supposed to be aboard. The automated tracking system on the soulmate, the equipment designed to broadcast maritime location data, suddenly went dark. Exactly 9:30 p.m. on the fatal night of April 4th, Blaine Stevenson audited a full month of the boat's previous tracking logs, confirming this anomaly directly to journalist Ashley Banfield on April 27th. Historically, that system never dropped offline for more than 2 or 2.5 hours. Yet on April 4th, it remained completely blind from 9:30 p.m. until 8:30 a.m. the next day. 8:30 a.m. Right around the precise moment, Brian Hooker stepped back onto the soulmate, accompanied by Bahamian police. Now consider his background. AT&T fired Brian 3 times. As an analyst, I find his final termination glaring. Court records and Banfield's reports confirm he was fired for jury-rigging his company van's GPS to hide his movements. This suspect knew exactly how to manipulate and falsify tracking data. He lived on a boat equipped with a tracker that conveniently went entirely dead the very night his wife vanished. Then consider the drone. The soulmate carried one. Brian wired the boat's solar grid himself. He knew every technical inch. Everyone interviewed described him as highly tech-savvy. Yet, standing on the deck of that rescue boat the very next morning, alongside Jim Todd and the Hopetown rescue crew scanning the waters near Elbow Cay, a strange omission occurred. He never once mentioned the drone, never offered to retrieve it from the soulmate. He never suggested flying it over the crystal-clear shallows to search for his supposedly missing wife. When Blaine Stevenson spoke to Banfield in late April, he stated a harsh truth. Nothing Brian did after the incident matched how a real husband acts when his wife vanishes. Absolutely nothing. Then we have the voicemail. 3 days into the investigation, Brian left his stepdaughter Carly a voice message. Crucially, he avoided a live phone call. Carly leaked this audio to News Nation. Bizarrely, he only talked about a flotation ring. The Hopetown search crews recovered the exact life preserver he claimed he threw overboard. He said nothing about Lynette. Nothing about the active search. Just the life ring. Now let's examine another piece of audio. Brian called Stevenson 3 days post-disappearance, 24 hours before getting arrested. The suspect had no idea he was being taped. CBS News later obtained and fully verified that critical recording. Over 40 minutes of completely unguarded chatter with a trusted confidant. Speaking casually without lawyers or detectives present, he detailed his wife hitting the water using one incredibly chilling verb: bounced. He claimed she basically bounced off the dinghy. Not slipped. Not fell overboard. Bounced. Let's lock those details in place, then pivot to the financial motive. A suspect with zero retirement funds. A wife holding over $650,000. A maritime tracker that magically died the night she vanished. A high-tech drone left completely untouched. Eyewitnesses spotted a flare, launched from a boat he denied reaching. Then his tracker miraculously powered back up, the very second he returned. A bizarre voicemail to a grieving stepdaughter about a life ring. 40 minutes of casual tape, describing his wife bouncing into the sea, plus $650,000. Parked in her accounts, waiting to be paid out to a designated beneficiary, a paper trail. My fellow investigators are fully authorized to tear apart. You and I both know this doesn't automatically prove murder. But let's not pretend these red flags aren't deafening. Very real questions. The exact kind seasoned analysts hunt for. The anomalies journalists like Banfield pursue relentlessly. The devastating doubts Darlene Hamlet lives with, waiting in Florida for a daughter's phone call that never arrives. She told Banfield, "I just want nothing more than I love you, and wish you would have come home." Her stepdaughter Carly traveled to the Bahamas personally walking those shorelines. She stood exactly where the suspect claimed her mother vanished. Staring at the water, she noted her mom could have easily swam 2 feet to safety. Carly finally flew back home wearing the tiny L-shaped charm necklace her mother never took off. She openly told reporters the suspect's timeline felt even more fabricated after seeing the scene. Lynette Hooker spent decades building her life. That massive retirement fund. 650 grand. A secure future. She desperately protected, while everything else collapsed. We noticed the cycle. She left, then returned. On camera, her life at sea looked flawless. But as analysts, we study the shadows. By January 2026, she confided in a friend about a very real threat. Yet she stayed. Then we examined the financial trail. $650,000. Forensic accounting shows exactly where that money sits. It exposes the true beneficiary. This missing persons case remains open. If you hold any clues about Lynette Hooker, contact the Royal Bahamas Police Force or the United States Coast Guard. Both of these investigations remain active. Submit anonymous leads using the CGIS Tips application on your phone. Currently, Brian Hooker has not been formally charged with any crime. His defense attorneys state he unequivocally denies any wrongdoing. By law, all individuals mentioned remain presumed entirely innocent, unless formally charged and convicted inside a courtroom. You and I will keep tracking this. We follow the facts. Every victim deserves the truth. Every story demands the light.